Hey, good morning. Welcome to XFI. And hey, shout out to Joey Chestnut for winning the hot dog competition. Hey,
the dumbest thing we do in the nation.
Today our topic is what to do if you're a leader that doesn't have a good poker face.
You might as well call this "Let's Mock Phil Day." Is what you might as well.
No, this is good, Phil.
No, I literally tell everybody, the one person in the world you want to play cards with is me.
I can vouch for that. He has absolutely said that.
Because I am telling you right now, if I got quad aces, everybody's gonna know it.
That's a fact. And if he doesn't like something and you mention, you're gonna see it before his mouth opens. But as a leader, as a leader of an organization, you really have to work on how you communicate, and we communicate both verbally and non-verbally. Yeah. And I have the similar issues Phil does with the non-verbal communication. Just ask my spouse, because she says something that is stupid, I start shaking my head or do something, and she doesn't say anything stupid ever. But when she says I don't agree with, or
she watching?
I don't think so. I hope
not.
So when somebody says something that I don't agree with, I'm pretty easy to read too, and that's one of those things as you grow up and become a leader, you really got to work on that because you can alienate your organization.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a what's that old saying? I'm a carrier when it comes to this. I mean, I don't just have it. I'm a carrier. I mean, it's bad. I don't. Now, it depends on the situation for me. I think you would echo that. If I'm in a, I mean, it depends on the situation, but if I'm like free, like if I feel like free to just be myself, I have the absolute worst poker face in the history of all faces. I mean, it's bad. It's really bad. Like when you talk to me about, what's his name? The hot dog guy?
Joey Chestnut.
Joey Chestnut. When you tried to talk to me about Joey Chestnut, I said, can we please start from the basis that these people are not athletes? Let's not disparage.
Let's not disparage Nathan
the
hot dog in contest.
The guy literally asked him after it was done, how's the ankle?
He had a torn tendon, man.
He's eating a hot dog.
It's hard work. It takes a lot to be a 15-time national hot dog champion.
To me, it just shows the degree of insanity that we have as a nation. That we honor a guy eating 4,000 hot dogs.
I love this with Phil because we're talking about today. The number one thing to controlling your emotional reaction to anything is understand your triggers. Apparently,
I got a lot of triggers.
Apparently, food eating competitions is a trigger for Phil.
You know what it really is for me? As you know, I've been vegan again for how long?
A couple months.
And
you've been angry because of it.
Phil needs a steak. That's the problem. So to me, a hot dog might as well be the greatest cut of filet you have ever experienced. That's what and all I know is Joey got to have like 4,000 filets.
He ate 63 plus and threw a dude off the stage who was protesting.
With the torn ligament in his ankle.
Absolutely. So let's...
No, wait. Whoa. He threw a guy off the stage that was protesting?
Yes.
What was he protesting?
People eating meat products.
You know what? This might be the greatest thing in the history of the world. I'm back in.
You gotta YouTube it, man. It's
Joey
awesome.
Is an athlete.
He keeps eating and he's holding the guy. Anyway,
this needs to be an Olympic sport.
So let's get back. So we're going to talk about an article written by Ann Sugar and Fast Company about how to control those things. And we're kind of joking about the hot dog competition, but the reality is there's things that trigger all of us, right? And so the first place is that you need to know what triggers you and be aware that that's going to trigger you.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all do this in our personal lives, or I think most of us do this in our personal lives. We'll be talking about. I've got, and I always use her as an example because I adore her and I love her and we have a great relationship. One of my daughter-in-laws, we know what's going to trigger each other and we just stay away from it. We both do. We just stay away from it because we love each other and we don't want to argue. So we just don't, there's certain topics we just don't talk about. And it leads to smiles and chuckles because everybody in the room knows what we're doing. There'll be a conversation, it'll go a certain way, and I'll be like, so does anybody need more iced tea? It's just this awkward transition. So no one, we do it every day with certain people. We do.
Yep.
It's just taking those skills and abilities. And you know what I think a lot of it has to do with, Dave? Do you care enough about the people that you're interacting with, because I think we are, if it's people we really care about, it's a lot easier to bite your tongue or hold your emotion than it is if it's just some random person that you don't feel like you have anything vested in. And I think that's might be a bigger part of the problem in organizations is you should be vested in all of your people. You should really hold them with a great deal of respect and concern and care about them. And so I think if it's easy for you to discount somebody, then you probably ought to take a look at yourself as a leader and how do you look at your employees.
And what the other piece about that is if you're passionate about what you're doing,
sure,
it's a lot harder to hide those emotions when you try it. If you're a person who has trouble with that,
yeah, it's
going to be harder. So, and the first thing is understand. The second one, I don't know about this, but it says practice in front of a mirror. Practice your facial expressions in front of a mirror. What I would say is if you're recording your Zoom calls, because we're kind of a Zoom centric.
Yeah, you can go back and play it.
If you know you have a problem with this, I would go review some Zoom calls you've had that have been recorded and look at how you respond when certain things are said. I think you'll learn a lot about yourself. And I think it's an effective tool to help you become a better communicator in person and through virtual meetings.
That's really a great piece of advice. I think is you can in sports. What do? You break down film.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that's a great way to do it, Dave. I think that's an excellent piece of advice.
And I think it'd be something easy for everybody. The next one is look, when things get out of hand or are starting to get out of hand, or you start having those emotional feelings inside. Step away for a second. Call a timeout. And I think this is good anytime you're in a uncomfortable situation with somebody or an employee or things aren't going the way. Just take a break. Go get a cup of coffee. Step away from the situation.
Yeah, and I think there's also, we've experienced this. We've had clients that you were close with or I was close with prior to engaging as being clients. And it's harder to do what we need to do for this very reason, because sometimes in our line of work, you need to be brutally in your face, hit them upside the head. And it's harder if it's people that you have a real deep relationship with. It just is.
Well,
it's hard.
And one of the things that I was told a long time ago, and it really is important, is you should only use emotion for effect.
Yeah, 100%.
And there is a time and a place to be emotional. There's a time and a place to make a stand. But if you do it all the time, it doesn't work. If you can't control your emotions, it doesn't work. And if you don't understand that you're getting frustrated and you need to step away, it's not going to work.
Right.
Because until you know yourself and how you're going to react, you can't solve that challenge for yourself, and you can't be an exceptional leader. Because if you've ever led a team or been enemies, there's things that are going to frustrate you. How you respond to that is how your team is going to respond and how open they're going to be with communication to you.
Well, that's a key thing. We have clients all the time that you'll talk to the head of the point of the spear, right? The leader, and they're like, well, why don't they say that when I'm around? And then nobody said, well, maybe you need to take a look at yourself if they're not comfortable talking about these things around you.
Yep.
Maybe they feel like you're just going to discount them. Maybe they feel like that they're not going to be hurt. All they're going to do is hurt their position in your eyes within the organization. And if you have employees feeling that way, usually it's time to take a hard look at yourself and see what kind of culture are you manifesting within your organization. Usually. The
next one's really good. Aim for progress over perfection. Aim to keep moving, right? Yeah. If you're focused on perfection all the time, that I get it. Keep and maintain high standards. I get that. But if you're holding your team to such a standard they can't reach it and you're not moving forward, you're just stagnating, that's even worse.
Yeah, this expectation of perfection is, first of all, it's stupid. Let's just put it all out there on the table. People that have this expectation that people are never going to do anything wrong, they're never going to miscalculate, they're never going to, make a mistake, well, get a life, get in the real world. It's not going to happen. So having an attitude of working towards excellence, doing things with excellence, understanding there's going to be mistakes, understanding that, you try to mitigate those mistakes. We're not saying it's okay just to go out and do crazy things, but man, you've got to have real, true, honest expectations going into how human beings are going to react. There's just no I mean, this unrealistic. The other one is, and we talk about this, owners will say to us, well, why can't they just care as much about this business as I do? Well, they're making $14 an hour. It's not their business. So for you to have an expectation that they're going to care as much as you do, from my perspective, is absolute lunacy.
It's crazy. Patrick Verano is on right now. This guy is spot on, super smart. Just published a book, The Leadership Bridge. It is awesome. The first chapter is about self-awareness. And if you read the first chapter of this book, it's all the keys you need to get through this. I'll just tell you that because I've read the book. And it is absolutely amazing. Thanks for coming on and post that comment, Patrick. I enjoy spending time with you on LinkedIn and sharing stuff. It's awesome.
Well, he talks about my favorite words, self-awareness.
Well, that's the first chapter in his book.
Yeah, I mean,
it's amazing.
If you're not self-aware, you're dead in the water.
Yep.
I mean, you're just dead in the water. I mean, that'd be like me getting up every day and thinking that I have the most beautiful head of hair you've ever seen.
Well, you do. It's
well, thank you.
Yeah, no.
It's on my back, but it's.
I know.
I know.
Seriously.
My wife always says when I say it, I got to tell her back, hey, I really don't. I'm trying to be funny. But you've got to be self-aware. You've got to be self-aware in everything that you do. Being self-aware is hard because it requires you to take a real honest look at yourself.
That's
and go,
a fact.
Man, I suck at this, and I'm not very good at that. And I'm terrible at this, and it's hard. It's hard, but it's so worth it.
Well, and it goes to the next thing when we talk about steps to help yourself, right? Text messaging should not be emotional. Emails should not be emotional. Yeah. And we should not presume emotion when we read those. We should always assume positive intent. I think with digital communication, the way communication has changed, we don't get the nonverbals or the face-to-face or Zoom-to-Zoom interaction as much because we're texting. And if you don't assume positive intent and you don't assume there's nothing, unless they call you an idiot or do something directly intentful, right, you're going to be a lot better leader. Assume positive intent, assume they're trying to do the best they can, assume people are genuinely good, and it'll help you handle your emotions and your poker face.
I agree with that. Don't you think, though, usually folks that are offended by a text or by an email, for all the reasons you just stated, I agree with 100% what you said, it's usually because they're not doing other things correctly and the communication is already broken down?
Potentially.
I mean, I know my experience is if I get defensive about something, if I get defensive about something, it's usually for good reason. It's usually because what they're saying is 100% accurate. If I get offended by something,
I can tell you, I had to adjust my thoughts as I grew up in the Air Force and not read email with emotion in it because people would say things not intending them. They're just being direct. They're not being hurtful, and it can be taken the wrong way. And that's really what we're talking about. If there's already a broken relationship or whatever, absolutely that is something you got to mend. But just assume positive intent until there's a reason not to.
And that's what I'm saying. I'm saying you should assume it, but I think usually if you don't, it's because there's deeper problems between the two people talking.
Yeah, potentially.
I mean, most times. I mean, it has been my experience is that you just, it's because, now you know me too, it drives me crazy how much people text.
But we're old. We don't like text.
I don't mind texting. I just don't think it, why do you need to text somebody that's sitting 5 feet from you?
That's the way I talk to my daughter.
I mean, good Lord. It's just, they're right there.
I can call.
Use your words.
We won't get this sidebar about kids
They're right
and texting.
there. Use your words.
We're older. We like being around people, and as people are growing up in the digital age, that's changing and that's shifting. Yeah. The last thing, and this is probably important for everything. We had a phrase in the military: "Do it slower to do it faster." Yeah. Right? Don't get in a hurry. When you're struggling with emotions and being read because you're showing things you shouldn't be showing necessarily to your team, take the time to slow down, take a deep breath, and relax, right? I think all of us get caught up in the busyness of work, and we stay busy, and we feel like we're in a hurry, and we forget the human side of stuff sometimes. I know I'm guilty of that. I'm not a big talker, socializer. I want to get stuff done.
Dave loves small talk.
Yeah, and Phil knows we're meeting and we're doing the small talk. And I'm like, okay, let's go. And he can see it in my face. And I'm trying to bite my tongue. But
he tries so hard.
It's tough for me.
Usually when you start seeing this, Dave starts doing this with his hair, and his hair is going like this. Okay, it's time to get over the small talk. Let's go ahead.
It's true. It's true. And I know it. I know it's a fault of mine. But
I don't even know if it's a fault. I think it's just, people are wired different ways, right? I mean, I go too far with I over communicate many times because I'm worried about, okay, are they happy? Is this good? And, where are they at mentally here? We joke about it. We got one client that will go in and this client will be on the verge of tears, and inevitably Dave will say, well, let's go over the numbers, and then here comes the
This is true, and we love them.
Oh no, we love them.
But I think part of this, your self-awareness is knowing who you are, right?
Absolutely.
I mean,
being aware, and
it's
honestly,
important.
I think we've had a lot of clients tell us that's why we work so well together, because we're very different. You're able to counter all of my insanity. I'm able to counter your I don't know if I called it insanity. Your and then your robotic state at times.
It's a process focus. I mean, and it's not. It's interesting, and people. When you get to know people, know how they are, you learn how to work with them, and it can be challenging. And I get it. Oh, nice!
No way.
Nice.
Look at her go.
Now I will tell you the best part about X and working with Phil and the great people to work with is watching them grow.
Oh man,
watching them turn into just amazing business owners. And this is a sidebar because of a comment one of our clients just dropped in the thing, but it is so wonderful to see them grow and learn about self-awareness and learn where their weak points are and struggle through that stuff to get it right and do those things. If you're listening today to this, I want you to remember this. Being human is hard.
Yeah.
We are all emotional. Being a leader is hard. We are all emotional. Let your team know that you care about them and you love them, and all this other stuff will take care of itself. But as you're doing that, work on developing yourself and work on your weaknesses and your skills to get better.
Yeah, and I think, and like Dave said, remember these are people. These are human beings. I mean, oh boy, on that emotion.
It's true. It is true.
Well,
right?
I think, there can be, that's what makes the world interesting, right? Some people are based all on emotion. Some people are based all on data. Some people are somewhere in the middle. And that's what makes life fun and interesting. I will say this, that back to your comment about clients growing and seeing it, was on the phone this morning with one of our clients, been a client a long time with us, several years. And we work as closely with this organization as we do any of our clients. And what I noticed this morning is this individual is much more willing and likely now to push back than he used to be.
Yeah, no, and his growth has been
and
amazing.
That's good.
It's amazing.
It started where we would be like, we'd say, okay. Now we say something's like, well, I don't really see it that way, and I'm thinking, all right, this is working.
Yep.
They're
growing.
This
in
is
their
good. Yeah, and that's what you want. So it's keeping emotion out of as many communications as you can is always best. I fell miserably at this many times. If my bride's watching this, she literally just laughed out loud hearing me say that.
Two brides. There's two brides that are laughing right now.
Going, oh yeah, you got all the answers there, Baldy. But it's it's true, right? Being self-aware, being conscious of what you're doing, understanding who you are, those are all things that you have to understand. You have to master if you're going to be effective.
It's fact. So with that, let's work on our self-awareness and our poker face and get better every day. And with that, this edition of X and Live, we are out of here.